Good evening and welcome all to the 15th episode of Leadership Lens Beyond Titles. Just to give you a brief background about Leadership Lens Beyond Titles, it is a thought provoking HR leadership podcast series created to explore this very shift. This series primarily aims to examine leadership through a wider lens, one that goes beyond formal authority and focuses on mindset, people strategy, organization culture, and future ready leadership practices. The principal objective of this podcast series is to create a platform where leadership insights meet practical HR strategies. It seeks to empower leaders, HR professionals, entrepreneurs, and aspiring managers with perspectives that help them to lead with purpose rather than position, align people strategy with business outcomes, build resilient, high-performing teams, navigate complexity with clarity and confidence. Without any further uh, delay, we will get on to introduce Ms. Sharmila Thakur, who is our speaker for the day. Okay. Uh, and Sharma, welcome to our podcast series. And I must say, the purpose of your HR journey is to architect organizations where human potential, AI, culture, and strategy align seamlessly, unlocking innovation, governance, and growth with speed, empathy, and integrity. That deeply resonates with the principle of our podcast series as well.
Thank you, Arun. I am honored to be here today and looking forward to discussing because this platform would give a lot of insights to people who are aspiring HR as well as who are in HR for a long term, where we definitely start thinking about leadership, beyond titles. So I look forward to the discussion. Thank you and very much for inviting me here.
Certainly, Sharmila. I'm sure you've led people transformation initiative across organizations ranging from 500 employees to over 15,000 or more globally. In your experience specifically, what are the three people metrics every CEO should review on a monthly basis?
So a very good question, Arun. And let me tell you, this is what each CEOs need to focus, and HR should not be giving them 50 HR metrics or on the dashboards. They need three that truly drive business outcomes. And those are, the first is the critical talent retention. And as HR, we need to think who are the people who are creating value for the organization, and why are we retaining them? That's the first one. The second one is revenue per employee, because productivity matters, and each productivity resonates and turns into revenue. And the third is leadership bench strength. We focus a lot on hypos, but we don't focus on leaders. If a key leader leaves tomorrow, we do have someone ready to step in. And CEOs need to track this. And these are constantly the metrics which will help them have a great picture of their organizational health And I always focus on these three metrics, and I have seen my CEOs also focusing only on these three metrics.
Certainly, Sharmila, what struck me harder is on the leadership pipeline, because most of the time we tend to get more comfortable with our existing leaders, and mostly organizations, even that are in a growing phase, tend to miss out on creating a succession plan for their leaders to make pathway for them to grow it's with us where most of the organizations draw a line to differentiate how good are they able to scale up within a given point in time, and how long does it take for even a growing organization or big organization that delays their growth.
True.
Certainly, I perfectly understand that. And many organizations collect hundreds of metrics. For example, even in our HR, there is cost per employee, time to hire between offer to the joining ratio, how many people joined, how many people left. And there are multiple metrics or data that every HR captures on every single day and every hour, though. How can HR leaders distinguish between interesting data and business critical data that would provide insights?
See, the simplest test on this is when we are evaluating the data or the metrics, we need to understand if this data is influencing the business decision. If it is not influencing the business decision, it makes no sense. HR often reports numbers, but leadership wants answers. They don't want your numbers. They want answer. This is my problem. What is the solution to this? Don't come with me for data which is not solving my problem. Instead of saying attrition is 15%, we need to tell our leaders this position is, or this role is at risk. We need to work on this. We need to create a talent pipeline. We need to have a successor for this role. Don't come to me and say, and I totally believe no business leader is interested that my attrition is 3%, but my topmost, critical talent is leaving. I'm maintaining my attrition at 3%, but my critical talent leaves. I'm losing business.
Right. So what you're trying to say is there has to be a connection, a link between the data, the outcome, and the impact of the business. When I started my career or during the early stages of my career, I had a very tough manager. So we used to have hiring every other day, which means Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays used to be the onboarding time. And every morning I used to message him saying so many people joined, so many people attended the onboarding, so many people joined after the tea break, so many people left for lunch, so many people came back after lunch, and so many people were there at the end of the day. And that attributed to a percentage of attrition or people leaving due to various reasons. And the very next day, the number would obviously change because we were in BPO setup and people tend to take things for granted due to various reasons. The second day, again, when the numbers change, I used to message him. And then the third day, fourth day, on the third day, I would have a new batch. So it accumulates. I need to send the data for the first batch and then follow with the second batch. At one point of time, we all realized it didn't really work, like how you mentioned, because we want to reiterate to all the joiners saying, hey, this is what the work culture is going to be. If you're really
I think we're losing you.
stop sending the entire train. Oh, is it clear better now?
Yeah, now it is better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So and then they complete the entire training and then they leave after training. That creates a huge challenge for the business and also on the cost factors. So we started realizing it is not the day one, day two count that matters. It is more than that, insights and data and how it is resonating to the business. And we started looking at data a little differently, right? Sure. And has the definition of a successful HR dashboard changed over the last 5 to 10 years? And what should it look like in 2030?
See, absolutely. 10 years ago, dashboard were largely, retrospective. They told us what's happened. It would never be in, it was never giving insights on what is going to happen. It was not predictive. It was more of retrospective. Expectation now is very different. Leaders want predictive analytics. They don't want it to be retrospective. They need predictive insights. They want to know who is at risk, who is leaving the organization, what is the future skills, is my organization future ready? And with this volatile market, which we talk about, where technology is shaping the workplace in every 6 months, HR dashboard also need to communicate that. So whether the organization is prepared for growth, modern dashboard should help on those. And if I talk about in 2030, see, there is going to be a difference. We cannot say that what was working in 1988 or in 1999, it will be the same. The workforce adaptability, technology market, the customer expectation, and are changing very fast. The organization that is currently winning, they might not be winning in 2030. And the people over there, if I talk about, they will be more gig workers, more of adapting to what is relative in today, today, tomorrow, or after a month it is changing. So yes, things will be dynamic, things will change.
Right. And to add to your point, in one of the organizations that I worked, they also started collecting data on the number of people who do who do moonlighting.
Yeah.
They were okay with it. Their policy, which just simply said that you're able to manage your work effectively, we are fine with that. You can work for another organization, but should not be in a similar area of interest. Right. But with that said, that was one of the metric, because the HR and the leaders were also able to go back and see if someone was available with a similar skill set. And if they were available, an opportunity was given. Right. So that makes things a little simple. With regards to the business impact and the strategy, if you had to present to the board of directors tomorrow, which people metrics would you prioritize to demonstrate the business values?
If I really want to predict, if I really want that my board of directors need to look into the data, they're not going to look into the data which is saying, okay, I have people who are, who are there with me for last 15 years. Those things, the board of directors would be saying, okay, what is the value my workforce is bringing? What dynamics are changing? Is my workforce ready beyond what was expected from them beyond what was expected from them today? Are they ready to take up the new challenges? Are they, is the leadership has started evaluating all the pros and cons, and I would say the dynamics which is changing every day. The board is not no more interested that I have a workforce which has joined and which is now retiring from this organization. The board would be looking at mix of things. They would be a mix and match of workforce. Similarly, they would, as from HR side, they would be looking at, can we transform our workforce into revenue. Let's be very upfront. No board wants to talk about only people. However, when we make strategy, only people can execute those strategy. How do we make them future ready? That's what the board would be
Certainly.
looking at.
So if I had to summarize, when you're talking about future ready, the number of upskillings they have done, the number of projects that they have taken up as part of their upskilling programs, the number of impact that they've created through various process improvements. It resonates deeply, Sharmila.
Yeah, mostly just to add on here, they would be looking at five most critical, metrics, which would be succession planning, critical talent, retention, workforce productivity, future upskilling, readiness, all these, and then you are only presenting that to the board, and they will be in nutshell, if I have to put it across.
Certainly. How can organizations effectively connect people metrics with revenue growth, profitability, and customer satisfaction?
See, this is a very interesting question because the connection is stronger here than many leaders realize. High performing team generates better delivery. They are better revenue generators. They create better customer experiences. And when you are doing a better customer experiences, you're delivering on time, definitely you are challenging your customer, saying that, yeah, this is what we can deliver. We are ready to take up more. Now, when we are taking new projects based on what a better delivery, I would say effective or a performance which is beyond what customer was expecting, we are generating more revenue. And because of that trust factor, there is a pipeline, project pipeline, and you create this. For example, engagement improves by 10%. What happens to productivity? So if my workforce is fully motivated and they know that this is the best of the work, the cream I am delivering, and I'm rewarded for that, and I'm acknowledged for that, definitely we will be able to deliver. And the revenue increases, I would say, and turns into profitability.
Certainly. What are the predict future organization performance before financial results could reveal them?
Long before, if I talk about financial number starts, declining, people indicators start flashing warnings, and we should be ready to understand those warnings. We have to be vigilant. We need to know that. Employee statement drops, and that all the coffee near the coffee shop, near in the cafeteria conversation, the washroom conversation, when you are having the break sessions conversation, it is giving us all these indicators. Employee sentiment drops, internal mobility slows, learning participation decreases. So key leaders start understanding that people are leaving the organization because there is the engagement level is dropping, and the organization is not able to sustain the right talent at the right time. So you will understand that our organization's productivity and performance is going down before even the finances comes into the picture.
Certainly. I'm sure these early warning signals on the cafeteria part, or whether a group of employees who are unable to perform and various other aspects of decline, I'm sure those are some of the leading indicators that HR should be vigilant and make a note of it and then take action so that it actually does not create a financial impact on the downside. Which people metrics are most commonly misunderstood or misused by leadership teams?
Oh, this is an amazing one, especially the engagement score. Is it for me? As a leader, I will ask, oh, no, it was not for me. It was for the direct manager. It is not to the indirect manager. And the attrition rates, training hours, where people say, oh, attrition, there were reasons why we have the attrition. It was not because my manager was bad or my team is disengaged. So that is the other part. And then organization often celebrates high engagement. They forget that there are areas where people are neutral and they are not voicing it out. Either they are scared or so we need to focus on the neutral, and we need to focus on the underlying tones which is coming out. So I would say these are the ones which are always misunderstood, and there are always areas where we keep trying to say, okay, training hours, we have people. So I'll give you an example on this. We used to have a training mandate in one of my organization. I will not name the organization. So people were like, okay, I read a book. That is part of the training. And I was like, no, it's not part of the training. You need to focus on and you cannot report this. So those are the areas which is mostly need to be focused.
And certainly, see, employee engagement score is misunderstood to the level where when there is a low score, they say HR has not done their work. And when people really don't understand that HR supports or enables certain aspects to have a better engagement level. It is the respective managers, the teams, the department heads who need to highly contribute, and HR collaborates for a better result there. And blindly they point hands at HR saying, okay, come, let's do this activity, that activity, and let's increase the score. And apparently the ground level reason is not at all, people don't try to understand that, or they don't go that deeper to solve the concern in terms of the employee engagement score.
But I hope you remember when engagement was, people misinterpreted that engagement is making rangolis during the Diwali, and HR was criticized. Oh, rangoli creation, 15th August celebration, 26th January celebration. This is engagement. So this was nowhere an engagement part, and. It was funny. I remember during these sessions, which we had the CHRO sessions and all that, where we used to debate, hey, should we discontinue these celebrations of making rangoli and card making, bay decoration and all that, because this doesn't come into engagement scores.
Engagement. And yes, in simple terms, when HR engagement was discussed, people often related to fun at work, right? And it is way beyond fun at work, and fun at work is actually not part of engagement, as you mentioned correctly. And organizations focus on attrition, right? So what metrics should they be tracking before employees decide to leave?
See, no employee suddenly one day gets up and says, hey, I need to go and put down my resignation today. Okay, no employee will decide that. Usually there are signals which, as HR, as managers, HODs, we all miss. So we need to understand when the employee has reduced its participation, lower engagement, fewer internal applications, limited learning activities for concern. So let me put it across. I had an HOD, and I like giving examples when we are here. Every day in the office, before leaving, he would say bye and go. And suddenly he stopped. And I knew the signal. It is there. I went ahead. I spoke to the HOD and I spoke to the employee. The employee said, no, nothing like that I miss. I said, 10 days, you cannot miss it. Suddenly you stop waving and all that. And within 20 days, we got the resignation. where he started with, I have this problem, I have that problem. And finally, we understood and we spoke to him, addressed his concerns. We said, it's better you don't put down the paper. Let's discuss what is the problem. It's better to discuss and solve the issue. We have to be vigilant. We need to read the signs. We need to understand what is troubling employees.
Certainly. And again, 10 years ago, these early warning signals were just their attendance, their performance, and how well they were flexible, right? Now it is way beyond their these performance attributes. Even a simple conversation that they don't prefer having with another team member, that's a behavioral change that every supervisor should be able to conscious and understand why there is a behavior change. And people often misrelate EWS with certain behavioral impact, and they say it would change over a period of time. And by the time they expect that change to happen is where the employee leaves and it creates a bigger impact. And what does a healthy talent pipeline look like from a metrics perspective?
See, a healthy talent pipeline all means you're not always dependent on external hiring. You need to build that pipeline internally. You need to have your workforce ready. And it's better to promote internal resource and identify. A lot of time, we become so critical, and the HODs, the managers, because they have this this biasness in their, they say, oh, the guy came at this level, I don't think he has learned this. It's okay if he has not learned. Let's train the guy. Let's evaluate the person. Let's understand from A to B what is, because when you're hiring someone from the market also, the person takes time to develop. I'm not saying that hiring from market is bad, because ultimately we all get hired from the external market. But yes, a healthy pipeline you can always build, and especially those critical talent, identifying them, training your workforce, keeping them ready is always a great benefit for your organization. And a strong internal mobility also gives a lot of motivation to the workforce. They're engaged, they know there is career growth path for them, and they will be developing. So in my previous organization, I had workforce on the same role for last 20 years, till the time we did not initiated a program from leading teams, and I will not name the organization, leading teams in that organization, and we started training our leaders.
Certainly, and in one of the organizations that I worked to, Sharmila, we strongly believed that we should promote internal resources to a higher level. When there was about 10 opportunities, almost 7 or 8 of the employees were promoted internally. And we used to bring 2 people from outside to have a mix of culture, thought process, and various other aspects. One reason we wanted to promote our internal employees is because they've been performing really well in their role, and that needs to be acknowledged and rewarded. And what better can an organization do than providing an employee with a better career prospects? That was a primary intent. Number 2, these people know how to get things done. They know the clients, they know the business operands, and they also know how the culture of the organization works, so they don't take time. They just understand what the role demands them to deliver, and then they start delivering that. Well, yes, I like to have people joining us from outside, but that would be on a very minimal level, because it takes time for them to settle on the cultural front. Even though they are strong in their area of expertise, there are challenges when 2 people interact, the way they get things done, or the way they ask certain inputs, information, and sometimes it becomes a challenge for the existing employee and the new. And over a period of time, yes, we do help people resolve those challenges. But yes, strongly, I too vouch for internal employees getting promoted to the higher levels. And how should organizations measure leadership readiness and succession effectiveness?
See, leadership readiness is through a simple lens. We have critical leaders who would leave tomorrow. What happens? Ultimately, because they are hypo, they have achieved a level where they keep striving for something new in their career. That's what leaders do. They want to contribute towards an organization. And once they do, there will be a time when the stagnancy comes. They would start thinking, oh, should I look into something new? So simple answer is disruption. That always works. Leadership readiness is about succession planning. You need to have your leaders successors. You need to create that. You cannot assume that one leader will be there till his retirement age or till the organization is existing. Not possible. Create successors, create quality of leaders. Assessment centers needs to be run. Future leaders need to be trained, and we need to assess cross-functional experts. We need to build, and we need to make sure that our future leaders are always ready. It is there. It might be that they some will be ready now, some will be ready soon or little later, but the pipeline should always be there.
Certainly. I'll just narrate an example that I did for a couple of organizations that I was associated. When I promote someone to first time becomes a team leader or a supervisor for a group of individual contributing employees, in the next 6 months, his KRA would also include to identify potential leaders from his team and start grooming them. And when a next opportunity comes, whether they are eligible based on their tenure or not, they should try applying for that position. And
Yeah,
if that,
I resonate with you because this is the philosophy, and it is not only for the leaders. I have always used this philosophy. Uh, we used to never promote anyone in my previous organization as Pepsi and Bureau Veritas. We would never promote anyone to the next level before we give them the KRA of the next level. And we would evaluate them in next 6 months, what mentoring, coaching needs to be given. And this we had a hardcore pipeline where we knew these many people are ready. The dependency was not there. And this was done on each level. It was not only on leadership. From team lead, we used to initiate this process. And this has helped me build a wonderful team, which was where we did not have to be worried away, and actually, that really gave us a transformation. Let me put it across like this, Arun. 2016 was the time when I was mentioned that we would be moving very soon from, in those days, IBM same time, to O365. We had not signed the contract with O365. We signed the contract in September 2017, but we had a workforce of 20 people in IBM same time with 2 leaders also. We started training them on O365. We started training the leaders, and this 20 people transformed 6,500 resources across 140 countries. And then these leaders also did the migration of the project. So see how futuristic you need to think about your workforce is what you are able to deliver it. So that is some example I'm just giving, which how we managed.
Absolutely. I'm sure companies like Pepsi and Bureau Veritas, they have a strong guidelines in terms of people metrics and people management because they are globally available. And the organizations that I mentioned were only based out of Chennai, and they were just in their growth state. So I wanted to showcase that we are no more going to be a Chennai based
Yeah.
an India-based company, and our focus is to be what's set by doing movement, creating leaders. What metrics would be best predictive whether a company is truly future ready from the talent standpoint?
See, future ready is not about today's skill. You need to be updated about your learning agility. You need to understand how quickly can people acquire new capability. Now, for doing that, let me put it across here. We used to, as HR, we used to collaborate into with our stakeholders, what is our plan for next 3 years, what new projects are in the pipeline, and how are you training your workforce, your leaders, and you're upskilling your workforce on the upcoming technologies which are still in the pipeline of the organization. You just do not see what is happening in next 12 months or in next 6 months. No, even next 18 months, 15 months, 18 months, you need to plan. There were plans. So let me again take an example. Siebel, we were having uh, we were having you know we were informed in 2017 that we will be decommissioning Sibyl. I'm not going to take the organization name, but we had 12 Sibyl resources, and we knew the next, COE we need to develop in 2021 is Salesforce. And I'm sitting in 2017. We started training our Sibyl resource on Salesforce. And hence, the transformation started in 2018. We trained our workforce. However, when we trained all of them and we were planning to move, we got to know that, Sibyl also will be continuing till 2026. Now, we cannot decommission. We have trained. Worked again with the business leader. We said, okay, half of them goes to Salesforce. The remaining will be working on Salesforce plus Siebel, and that's how finally we were able to do the workforce management. Now, as an organization and as HR, you need to collaborate with the business to understand their futuristic plan and how are we going to be able to become their true business partners. And when HR starts thinking in terms of business and they become the true right hand or true partners for them, definitely it's a win-win situation.
Yes. I mean, one of the classic moments that I had was the 2020 COVID, where we were deliberating whether digital should be one of the competencies that every employee should have. But the entire management felt that digital need not be a competency and people will start using digital media as and when they're required. Then COVID came in and we had a very tough time. We even teach our managers, senior managers and leaders on how to use Teams or Zoom or any other mode for them to connect with their team members and employees. And then took us about 3 to 4 months to train them, equip them with enough knowledge and skills, and then we made them to start using such tools, right? Most of the time, we tend to let go of certain aspects because we feel, no, it can be learned when required. This is not the need for the hour. It is only the business perspective, but we don't try to see the 360 degree of the business entity that we are in. And then thanks to COVID, because a lot of things that COVID taught us, not just in terms of learning technologies, but also in terms of people management, right? So it was only by having a coffee or meeting people during their lunch, we share a lot of challenges or problems that we are unable to solve, and we get answers from our peers. But COVID made us to really upskill ourselves on various aspects. It bridged a lot of facts. It bridged a lot of people and upskilling initiatives so that an individual can still be independent and meet the business deliverables. And as a team, you can do better, right?
COVID
So,
taught us a lot of things. A sudden transformation of HR, admin, procurement, which were not even taken into consideration as organization which can leverage technology. Suddenly, a 360-degree U-turn and transformation. I agree.
so you've led global employee engagement programs across multiple geographies. So beyond engagement scores, what metrics truly indicate employee experience success?
See, employee engagement beyond the metrics is actually a function which gives you to make your people trust you. They start trusting. They understand that there is a true intention beyond this engagement score. That your HR, your leadership is looking for your career growth path. They are interested in your learning and development. Like COVID, you just mentioned. During the COVID, people were with their families, and suddenly HR, I remember, my team started calling employees saying that, hey, are you fine? How is your mental health? How's your family? Are they fine? Now, this was empathy which employees have never seen. All the time you are not doing the work, your score says this, your balance score says this. Hey, this is the metrics which is coming out, and suddenly a transformation where HR is calling and asking, what's happening. Now, let me put it across here. We had our gold mines, workers in Orissa. And due to the COVID, no one was coming. HR came up with a solution where we used Radio Mirchi at that time. And we started interacting with our workforce in Orissa. And I was the one who spoke to them saying that you can't come to office. HR will come to your city and we will interact with you. Now, this is where you're talking about engagement with empathy. You wanted to urge them to come back to the office. New plans came into picture, keeping in mind how comfortable, how you are not drafting policy, which is only one-sided. You are drafting policy, keeping in mind your workforce, your workforce requirement. So I would say companies, are they moving internally? Are they moving externally? Was the engagement which started. Before that, it was okay, 12 question answer, this, it is coming, and the employee would think, do I need to give the right answer? My manager will know, and he will know that I'm the one who's cribbing, my performance evaluation will go down. To the level where we are talking about, no, you voice it out, we will find a solution, and we will look into providing you the right platform and we will work with you to find the solution. So metrics which indicates that there is a richer story behind the numbers is what is engagement, and I believe that metric should be taken into consideration.
Thank you, Sharmila, for that. And how do you measure culture when culture itself is often considered intangible?
That culture is always behaviors, and behaviors are people. When we talk about people, we know how we are collaborating. It's all human behavior. You sit with them, you understand what is the rationale behind their behavior. That indicators, you need to look into it. And everyone, all human being wants recognition. Everyone needs someone to listen to them. The collaboration part should be there. Decision making, leadership consistency, like a lot of people started work from home. Arun, you and me, we both know there are times when I'm seeing a person every day, I become biased, or the person come to the office. The person who's not coming to the office, we become unconsciously, we become biased, out of sight, out of mind. That culture, consciously you need to train your brain, that is not true. People who always try to make the most of the noise doesn't mean they are the right people, or they are the right contributor. There are silent contributors also. How do we judge that? And your people should become your brand ambassador. Culture is always measured by that.
See, in simple terms, for me, culture is the most abused word, right?
Yes.
So for anything and everything, it is easy for them to get away by saying culture is poor or culture is good. So for me, it is not about just following a culture. Are you developing it? How well are you just not showcasing it, but also developing it and making it more evident, even without having a HR value written on a board, and making people to memorize it, display that, and then making sense of it. And one point on the empathy, it deeply I was able to resonate, because I'm not too sure how many organizations before COVID had something called an employee assistance program, right? And
Yeah.
then post COVID, I mean, I'm not just
Everyone.
talking about the business boom, but correct, the kind of effectiveness that it made in people's life was very evident, and people really did not feel that they were talking to a psychologist, or whether it's a psychiatrist. They felt that they need someone to talk to. They made the best effort, I mean, the best utilization from those initiatives, and people welcomed those initiatives, right?
True.
Even before COVID, a lot of companies still had that, but the utilization was very well participate. And
Yeah.
what role do stay interviews play in people analytics, and what insights should organizations capture from them?
Again, stay interview is one of the most underrated, underrated term in HR, because even HR wake up, oh, I need to do the stay interview because the person is leaving. It has to be done, but you have to continue. You need to interact with your people. You don't need to do skip levels only because you have performance evaluation coming in or midterms coming in, all that. Your people need your ears. They need someone to listen to their grievances, and you need to, and a lot of time, like Accenture and all, they have electronic program where say, oh, I'm Susie, I'm here to help you. Oh, I am Natasha, how can I help you? No one is interested in that. People want real people to talk. So stay interview, I would say, if it is managed more as employee connect than a stay interview, and you are continuously understanding their problems, addressing it, you really don't need an exit interview or stay interview at all.
And which employee, I mean, well-being metrics should leaders pay close attention to in today's AI-driven workplaces?
I think the burnout, that is one area where the leader should always focus. Why there is an absenteeism? What workload patterns is impacting them? There are times when people are they don't have work. There are times when people are overloaded. How do we balance that? How do we create a psychological safety? So this story, Google, world-class organization, why the attrition was high. And then suddenly, no one, huge leadership team in the boardroom, but no one is talking about, and suddenly one leader gets up and say, hey, I'm diagnosed with cancer and I will die in a month. And then everyone started talking, and we found out there was world-class organization, but psychological safety of losing the job was high. Attrition was high because of that. So we really need to focus on our burnout areas. Are our people really psychologically safe? Are they happy? If they are happy, burnout will not be there. Like let's give it. Everyone is talking about work from home. Everyone cribs about work from home. But then, like Bangalore and other cities where the traffic is challenging, as HR, are we really looking into it? But not only HR, as management, as CEO, is CEO is willing to listen that everyday commute is a problem. Your productivity is going down because people are tired, because people have burned themselves out. So we need to think on those terms, and I believe then a right decision makes people to stay for a long time. Ultimately, everyone will be burned out if they are investing a lot of time and event and not focusing on that.
Right. So we have a couple of more minutes on this session. So I'll quickly ask you one last question. Looking ahead of 2030, what do you think would be the single most important people metric that every organization will need to master?
Workforce adaptability in technology market. On that basis, how do you start focusing on training your workforce to be agile? That is the only thing which as a single matrix will workforce. How can we have a leaner workforce, not and a combination of workforce, not just one full-time FT, but there will be different combination of workforce. I believe that will be the matrix which will come out. Can't hear you.
In simple terms, you're saying leaner, agile, and resilient workforce, and a mix of FTEs, contract employees, and so on. Yes, wonderful.
The workforce which can be reinventing themselves will be the one who will be sustaining them.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's really a good note to close this session. And Sharmila, the last one here has been really insightful for me, and I'm sure the viewers and the people who are on live and people who are going to view this video in YouTube would also find this session to be insightful, and I'm sure that it would add a lot of insights to their day-to-day work, and they would start looking at numbers, insights, and as a solving tool to help them overcome their problems, and not just as numbers and data. Right. So with that said, thank you, Sharmila, once again for joining us today for our 15th episode of Leadership Lens Beyond Titles. It has been a privilege to host you in our session today.
Thank you. And I would add one last comment from my side is that for decades, organizations have relied on financial intelligence to guide decisions. However, the next decades will belong to the organization that combines financial intelligence with people intelligence. As I mentioned before, strategies doesn't execute themselves, it is executed by people. So thank you very much for having me here on this platform. It was wonderful connecting and having this conversation.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.